the best crypto trading setups right now. In this video, I'm going to share with you the altcoin trades that I'm personally taking. We're going to talk about the entry points, the stop losses, and the take profits. We're also going to talk about why right now, with Bitcoin threatening to break out of this bullish pattern and Ethereum threatening to break beyond this 4-year-old resistance line, why right now might be a fantastic time to be entering into trades for different altcoins. Do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's find out what's going on. Now guys, before we dive in and find out more about the different altcoins I'm trading and what's going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to trade or buy and sell crypto, you should understand that it is risky and you can lose money. Therefore, do not use money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing. Right? Now we got that out of the way, let's crack on with today's video. Now guys, before we go and look at the individual altcoins, it's important that we understand where we are in this market and understand why right now is probably an opportune moment to be looking for altcoin trades. You can see that Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart is coiling up into a rather interesting pattern. This pattern is called a bull flag. It happens during a bullish trend where the market is moving higher, and then you can see that the price cools off for a while before seeing continuation. And what we can do in order to find the target price of where this breakout will take us is to take the height of the flag, which is basically from the most recent move higher from Bitcoin, and take it to a potential breakout position. Now, as you can see, I'm doing it from a breakout of around this area, but there's no reason why Bitcoin can't kind of break around in this area for a little bit longer. I do think, to be honest, sometime towards the end of this week or into early next week, that Bitcoin is breaking here, and it will take the price up to around $134,000. That doesn't mean it happens in one big candle. There's a chance that takes a little while to play out. But as soon as that happens, you're going to see Ethereum and the wider altcoin market wake up. How do we know it's going higher? Well, because of this. If you jump out to the daily chart for Bitcoin and we open up the M2 money supply with an 83-day delay, if you want to be able to add this to your chart, by the way, just go to indicators, this is tradingview.com, and then just write out M2 money shift for Bitcoin, select this one, go to the cog here, and make sure you're reading at 83. Now, this is on a daily chart. If you want to look at a weekly chart, you're going to have to write something like 12 for like 12 weeks, okay? But since we're using a daily chart right now, we're just going to write 83, click OK. Now, what we can see is this. The M2 money supply leads the Bitcoin price by approximately 83 days, and it gives us a really good, nice guide as to where Bitcoin is going next. You can see that on the peaks, it matches quite closely with Bitcoin. On the previous kind of troughs, you can see when they go up, Bitcoin price follows. So you can see we had that low back in April. We can see the Bitcoin price perfectly reversed there and then started to follow higher. And while we've had kind of chop along the way, Bitcoin is just continuing along with the M2 money supply. And we can expect this to continue higher until sometime around the end of September, where the price might start to cool off for Bitcoin and potentially the altcoins, but we'll have to wait and see as to whether or not the M2 money supply will continue higher after that and continue this bull market on. And if you want to keep up to date with that, make sure you're subscribed to the School of Crypto so you can follow along as we go. I'll obviously be keeping an eye on this myself. Over on the School of Crypto, which is my new channel, we focus towards day trading as well as tutorial-based content on how to understand what's going on in crypto and how to make the most of this crypto opportunity. Also, I recommend you follow my other channel, the House of Crypto, which is far more focused towards the macroeconomics as well as different altcoins I'm personally buying, different narratives, and other things like that. Between the two channels, you should be set for understanding what to be doing throughout this bull market ahead. Now then, Bitcoin looks like it's going higher at any moment, really, because of all the M2 and stuff like that. But Bitcoin isn't the whole picture here. Ethereum, incredibly important. It's the biggest altcoin, and it's phase 2 of the path to altcoin season. After Ethereum breaks out and goes crazy, you'll see large cap and mid cap altcoins pumping up as well. And that's why I'm going to be trading those particular coins today. You can see Ethereum right now is pushing up against this resistance line, which has been stuck under since the 8th of November 2021. Whenever this breaks, it's going to cause altcoins to wake up. Why do I think that we're very close to seeing this happening? Well, not only is Bitcoin pushing higher, but if we jump across to CryptoQuant and look at these diagrams, you can see that the volume now being traded on Ethereum is far bigger than that of Bitcoin. This tells us phase 2 is alive. It also tells us that the institutions, the big banks, the smart money are coming in and they're trading Ethereum over Bitcoin. They're ready to go down the risk curve. Ethereum is a more risky asset than Bitcoin because it's got a smaller market cap, and eventually all of that money floods down to the riskier assets, large cap altcoins into the mid caps, and all the other stuff that goes on. Now that we got that out of the way, now that we know that altcoins are going to be running pretty well soon, it's time to start looking at some good entries for altcoins. Now, it's really important that you understand this before we go and do any trading at all. Trading is risky. Using leverage is inherently risky. Trading crypto, as you know, is already risky. But adding leverage to it does mean that you have the potential to make more money, but also the potential to lose more money. Therefore, I never personally trade and risk more than 10% of my entire crypto portfolio. And of that 10% of my entire crypto portfolio, I don't risk more than 10 and 20% of that, which means I never risk more than 1 to 2% of my entire crypto portfolio on any one individual trade. And probably I don't think you should either. But the beauty of this is that by using some leverage, we can use that money to potentially amplify our portfolio without having to risk a large amount. So which coins to trade? Well, I personally don't like to trade coins with smaller market caps and smaller volumes because typically you will see market makers manipulating charts to try and take out your stop losses, and they can't really do this if you're using larger cap coins with big volume. So we're not trading Bitcoin and Ethereum because they've obviously been pushing up a lot, and we don't want to enter into long positions right now in coins that are already up a lot. You can go down the list. We've got XRP, Solana, Dogecoin, Tron, Cardano, Hype, Sui. These larger cap coins have massive volumes, okay? Billions of dollars of volumes. These are the ones that I want to be getting into potentially. So we'll have a look at some charts and see what's going on. So in no particular order, what have we got? We've got XRP. Now what we're looking to do is always buy from areas of support. Now, what I wouldn't want to do, as you can see on this XRP chart, is I wouldn't want to have bought up there into a trade because obviously at some point we're going to get a pullback and we don't know how far it's going to come back to. But now what you can see on XRP is it's pulled back to previous resistance. And now you can see it's started to get bought up again. So what we're going to do is drop down to a daily chart and have a look as to whether or not this is something we want to be looking into. Now, whilst I can see there's previous resistance up here for XRP and there's resistance here, I see some very big red candles pushing down into that particular support and not particularly large buying candles coming out of it. This would tell me that right now, this might not be the one for me to enter because there's a lot of sell pressure going on in here and not that much kind of counter buying going on in the other direction. Therefore, for now, I'm not going to be trading XRP. If you want to go and hold XRP on spot, I do think that XRP goes higher. But remember, we're looking for trades. We don't want to get stopped out, although we can potentially be stopped out because we're always going to use stop losses. So right now, XRP is not the one for me. Big red candles, no real kind of bounce back. Let's go along. What else have we got? Sui. Sui, again, you can see has been pretty interesting. But whilst there is a red candle here, you can see that there is still a lot of buying pressure coming on. And unlike XRP, this does look a little bit more favorable. However, this is a major area of resistance for Sui that you can see around here, where the price has run up and is now getting sold off. Does this look like a good entry for a long position? Not overly. Would it look like a good entry for a short position? Potentially. But here's why I'm not entering into short positions right now. The market is bullish. The trend is this direction. Trading against the trend, in my opinion, is a really risky maneuver. Trading's risky enough without having to do stuff like that. The market is in a position where it's starting to ease off. We're seeing smart money going more risk on, entering into Ethereum rather than just Bitcoin. This tells us that the market is moving into full-blown bull market phase. We don't want to be going against that trend. We want to go with it. What other coins have we got to pay attention to? Now, here's an interesting one. Solana right now, you can see, has done something pretty interesting. Unlike Sui, which is stuck under this area of resistance, Solana has managed to break up above it and is now starting to find support at the previous resistance. Yes, we've seen a little bit of selling coming in, but we are seeing some nice buyback going on. Now, if we are able to see a bigger kind of green candle here, it's going to give us further confirmation that this might be a pretty good entry for Solana. In reality, it's not a terrible entry. If I was to take a long trade from here, my stop position could be somewhere under here, and my take profit could be somewhere up towards previous resistance. But what you might notice is this. my stop versus reward ratio is 1.4. This is not very good, okay? I don't want to be risking $100 to try and make $144. It's not a good trade for me. I want to be looking for more 3-to-1, 4-to-1 risk to rewards, where I can risk $100 to try and make $400. Hyperliquid, obviously not necessarily the best trade because I don't want to be trading into all-time high territory, even though I could probably have my stop under here and look into other positions. What about down here, though? How about looking into a coin like SEI? Well, here is the interesting place to be looking at an entry. Right now, you can see that SEI has previous resistance in and around this area. What do I mean by that? The price of SEI came up and it bounced under here. Eventually, it breaks through this resistance and it forms now support at this area of resistance. Now, while there was some selling off, it wasn't particularly aggressive, and you can see that it's being bought up at quite a decent rate. Another really nice thing for SEI is that the previous move support is down here. So what I can really look at here is an entry point with my stop loss somewhere under that previous support, but the next resistance for SEI is somewhere up towards the December highs that we saw, and you can see that that pretty much will bring us a 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So this is a fairly decent trade as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's a daily chart. This is not going to play out in the next 15 minutes or an hour, and you should probably avoid trading on anything under a daily chart, in my opinion, because price moves up and down. Any given day, you can see the price moving around a lot. What I want to do is take trades where if the worst case happens, I might lose 1% of the account, like I said, but actually in reality, that's very unlikely. I've actually got far more likelihood of making myself a nice 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio on a swing trade like this, where I can buy from reasonable support, putting a nice, safe, healthy stop loss here, and then target a much bigger move back towards December highs. Now, it doesn't mean that SEI can't continue higher than that. I'm just looking for a nice, healthy trade to go and lock in some reasonable gains. So, in terms of entry points and stuff like that, at the time of making this video, who knows what's going to happen? SEI currently sits at 0.3360 approximately, okay? If it's suddenly moved up by the time this video goes live, which is possible because maybe Bitcoin breaks, then maybe this is not such a good entry anymore. Don't just go and ape in late because I talked about it on this video. Be responsible. Remember, if you want to invest money, you have to take responsibility for it. If you suddenly ape in late and then the market pulls back against you, and then you're not set up properly for it, okay? So what we can see, stop loss sits there, 0.2424. Take profit, for me, 0.7127. Now, in future videos, I'll talk to you about how to calculate how much money to use for your stop loss. But if you are using ChatGPT, which you should be because it's free and it's like the most useful tool ever, all you've simply got to go and ask it is like, hey, ChatGPT, I've got a $1,000 crypto account and I want to risk 1% of this account on a trade. SEI is currently at 0.3362 and the stop loss is at 0.2424. What ChatGPT will work out is how much of a percentage drawdown that is. If you don't want to do this yourself, you can see the percentage drawdown is around 27%. It will then say, well, you want to risk $50 or $100 on this trade. That's close enough to 25%. It will work out that you can probably risk a $400 position here, because if it draws down 25%, then you hit the stop loss, which is 25% of 100. You get the picture, okay? Nowadays, just use ChatGPT. It will give you the answer that you want, okay? But I will cover it in a future video. And yeah, if you risk $100 here and it goes up here, you make $400. If it goes down here, you lose $100. The game is here that if I do this multiple times, I've only got to win a few trades to be really profitable, okay? Because the win is so much bigger than the loss. SEI is a layer 1 blockchain, by the way, is EVM compatible. So when Ethereum starts to boom, SEI is likely going to see a lot of that activity as well. It's also an ultra-fast layer 1 blockchain, huge amounts of TVL growth, total value locked growth on chain. If you want to understand more about the fundamentals behind crypto projects, then go and check out the House of Crypto. Make sure you're subscribed over there, okay, if you're not already. That's it, right? Okay, next up, ADA, Cardano, worth having a look at. A lot of these crypto projects are making very similar patterns. Now, if you don't like Cardano or you don't like whatever, I don't care. Okay, this is about trading and understanding where the moves are likely going to happen. I personally don't hold Cardano on spot because it's not really going to move a huge amount, but we can make the most of these moves from trading with a bit of leverage because the risk we're in is less because of the volatility, but we can get some better upside. Now, you will notice a very similar pattern to what we're seeing on the Bitcoin price, but just on a longer time frame. Now, this one we've talked about before. You can see that we have a area of resistance, okay? And then what we can see is that Cardano has broken up beyond the area of resistance and come down into support. You could potentially look at a trade entry somewhere around here. But again, what are we seeing? Very big red candlesticks towards the downside, not much buying pressure coming up against it. Cardano, not right for me. What else have we got? Doge. Again, Doge you can see is pumped up, found support somewhere around this double bottom pattern, but right now is not showing up much signs of buying back. But right now it's just showing some big candles down, not really that much sign of being bought back up. Therefore, I will leave it and keep an eye on it. If it suddenly pumps back up like this, what I might be tempted to do is take an entry at the point at which it gets pumped back up with a stop loss under here and targeting the next area of resistance around here, okay? That's a 2.85, near enough a 3-to-1, okay? 3-to-1 risk to reward over here. Okay, that's on Doge, just an example. But I don't want to be entering in when the momentum in the short term is lower. Okay, that's why I'm not entering into that. Now, another one that really catches my eye is, in fact, HBAR. Now, as you can see, HBAR has had a pretty strong run over the last few weeks. Okay, but has been starting to kind of stall off in this area. Now, what I like about the look of HBAR is, again, that it's broken through a key area of resistance. And it started to come back to find and retest as support. Now, this is really key. Okay, this is a great example because a lot of the charts we've been looking at right now, like the XRPs and Cardanos, they've come down here and they haven't really shown any sign of recovery. Okay, this is why I'm not really looking for entries on those right now. What I'm looking for is what I'm seeing on HBAR here, a push back above the previous test. So you can see this is resistance. HBAR's broken resistance, it's come back to retest it, now as support, and now it's confirmed that it is support, okay? This gives us a nice entry. So what I can do on this particular one is have a stop loss underneath these kind of areas of support, okay? Which is what we found before. And you can see that HBAR came down very strongly, but got bought up very quickly. And what we can do is target these tops that we saw for HBAR back here in and around January. Now, as you can see, it doesn't necessarily give us the most favorable 3-to-1 ratio that I'm looking for. It's about 2.6, but still, in my opinion, this is a reasonable trade entry for having lower risk, lower exposure to having some more upside potential. Now, what's the benefit of doing trades like this? Well, one, it means you have to use or risk less money than you can potentially win. And it also means if the market moves against us, like it did back at the end of last year, like it did into April time, it can knock you out the market, hit stop loss, and then you're out. So in my opinion, this is a reasonable entry for HBAR. You can see entry point somewhere around 0.274. Okay, I'm just going to put that down there. And then you can see underneath a stop loss somewhere around 0.2290, and then a take profit around 0.398. Now, what you can do here is take a partial profit. Okay, so let's say it goes up here. My $100 becomes $350 because obviously this is a 2.5x. Now, what I can do with that is I could take out my original investment or maybe some more, and I could leave some money in there to run. Remember, if Ethereum starts to break higher, there's a very good chance that a lot of these coins will start to put in new highs and continue. And then maybe into blue sky breakouts, you can look for the Fibonacci from here down towards here. It gives us the 1.618 golden ratio, and this could be where your third take profit might be, okay? But obviously by then you've locked in your risk, you've taken out your initial investment and others as well. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an insight into how to identify certain trades, and we will keep you up to date on these trades as we go through these markets. Obviously, if we start to see the market pushing higher, it could give us some good entries, confirmed entries on the likes of XRP, SUI, some of the bigger market cap coins that we talked about earlier. Now, I personally will be taking all of these trades over on BloFin.com. If you use my link down below in the description, you'll get an exclusive sign-up bonus where you'll be able to get extra money to go and trade with, and as well as that, you can access various different other competitions and lots of of other rewards that will be given away as the bull market progresses. Now, why am I trading on BloFin? There's a lot of volume available on BloFin, and when it comes to some of the larger cap coins, I prefer to trade over here for that reason. Now, I do also still use WEEX and Bitunix to trade on as well. Nothing wrong with any of these exchanges. I like to use them all. I just like to diversify across different crypto exchanges, and as well use exchanges that don't require KYC. Also, all of these exchanges enable you to buy different altcoins with medium or small market caps. If you're using Coinbase and Binance, you're never going to be able to buy small cap coins, mid cap coins. So make sure you sign up for these 3 exchanges, all linked down below in the description, so that you can take trades. In the future, very soon, I will be making a BloFin tutorial on how to use this particular exchange. There's also a Bitunix exchange tutorial that I've made on the School of Crypto. So if you want to go and find out how to use that, go and use that video after this one. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Obviously, do your own research, understand how things work. Remember to use stop losses. Don't trade without stop losses. It's incredibly risky. Always use stop losses and use ChatGPT to calculate your stop losses. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye-bye.